if investors choose to go and put the money because there is a lure for that additional money that is coming in, which is not the order of the market, then I don't think we have to pity them. There's so much of awareness going on. So it is not that the regulation that is to take the blame. Equally, the blame has to go to the investors. And that's why, again and again, Mr. Muralikrishna was talking about informed investors. You look at primary market, the prospectus, the way it is drafted and approved today, if somebody is really informed, if the company is not really good, he is not going to put money into it. There are so many checks and balances in secondary market today with speed breakers and everything is happening. If still somebody chose to invest into a company which according to the fundamentals is not good, according to the guidance that is given is not good, then that is his risk. So don't blame the regulators only for that. There is a need. It is a market that is evaluation. What gold line that we have is in 2009 when every country was melting, it is India who stood up. And it stood up and then we were not affected is only because of the mechanism that we had. The inherent risk management mechanism that we had was responsible for not falling into that pit. Otherwise, probably today we wouldn't have been talking about it. Well, I congratulate that the topic is very good. Since all younger minds are there, I would request all the speakers in the next sessions to be positive. Fraud has happened, but let's not highlight that fraud and corrupt those young minds thinking that everything in corporate is fraud. It is not so. There are so much check and mechanism that is available today. I don't want to rattle, there is not much of a time. But believe me that India has the best regulatory mechanism today. If something is happening, it is happening because somebody's individual greed. I thought that I should talk about this and then initiating this discussion, sir, my question to you is, how do you prevent pricing manipulation through your regulation? It's for Mr. Muralikrishna. Or even Sunita Anand can answer. You have...
Yeah, I think we will give the chance. Once we finish we have heard, let us hear the research-based observations as well.
Thank you. Hello.
Professor Soral.
Thank you, Professor Achlapati, my esteemed fellow panel members, esteemed colleagues in the audience, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. Let me at the very outset greet all of you on behalf of the Indian Accounting Association. The president is also sitting in the audience. And we had this opportunity. We are about 5,000 academicians in the country who through this association professional serving the academic part of the accounting fraternity in this country. Time is not really permitting me to cover the entire presentation, etc. that I have prepared. And much of the things have already been covered. So I would try to be very brief, try to confine within 5 minutes, sir. 2-3 things which in fact I wanted to cover before you at this stage. Number one, as the moderator is expecting me to talk about research regarding the topic that we are discussing. In fact, much can be said about in what direction the current academic researches in terms of fraudulent financial practices are going on. But very briefly mentioning 2 things I would like to particularly point out. One is that for last to my knowledge, some 5-6 years, particularly in India, one technique which earlier used to be used for researches only in the medical sciences and physical sciences, that is the neural network technique. We have started using it now for financial fraud detection. In fact, one of my own research scholars, she is working on the neural networks to be used for financial fraud detection. And so far, she is working for last about 2 years. Very good conclusions are coming up, and we hope that this research work would really pave a way for further research on that. Another more recent advent in researches on fraudulent financial practices which has come up is based on content analysis. In fact, just 6 months before, I have come across a software which some of the researchers are using. I'm not getting its name at the moment. Some softwares have been developed through content analysis. I mean, the descriptive analysis, covered by the companies in their pronouncements, in their prospectus, in their other descriptions. Based on the content analysis technique, they are now trying to identify that a potential financial fraud may occur. So in Indian academy, a direction to financial fraud detection has already taken up, and I would call particularly the academic fraternity sitting here and the professionals also to join hands with us in helping us in developing better models for financial fraud detection. That's one thing which I want to tell you. Two more things small to mention here. One is that what the take of academicians in this situation is. One is that what I personally feel, which Professor Durga Prasad also just before mentioned, that we are dealing with the young fraternity, young minds, and we should tell them there is a lot of hope. It's not all dismal, what we have been discussing here. It is a very bright, word is there, word is at the moment very bright, and future is also very bright. So in that regard, in my state, I come from the state of Rajasthan, as I've been told. We have a board of secondary education, and I myself happen to be part of the curriculum committee there. We have decided to introduce a chapter on ethics in accounting at the 12th standard level, so that we start initially infusing into the minds of the young students that there is much of importance of ethical aspects to be learned before you become an accountant. And at the university level, in my university for last about 4 years, we have introduced a complete full paper of 100 marks in one semester on ethics in accounting and finance. And I myself have been teaching that paper, and I would definitely like to share with the academic Galaxia here, that students have come up liking that as the best paper out of the 24 papers that are studying, and they are writing so well into the examinations that is a great hope for all we who are seniors over there. So that also would be my mention here, that let the academic fraternity think in this direction. Finally, I would also like to highlight that some efforts which have been made by the professionals in the direction of coming up with certain courses focusing on the forensic accounting and fraud detection. In fact, I have a long list here, and time is not permitting me to highlight them. I would very briefly mention that in academics, particularly in the universities, we should also think of introducing small add-on courses or short duration courses or full papers or papers as part of ethical issues papers in the academy to prepare students regarding certifications on forensic accounting, etc. I would very briefly mention about some of the courses which ICAI has come up, and the India Forensic Consultancy Services which has offered certain courses. I have a list over here, but time is not permitting me. And then there is the US-based Institute of Certified Forensic Accountants. They have come up with several courses, which some of them are associate courses with AICPA, and I think the Indian Academy should also think in that direction. And this is regarding the US-based Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, which has branches all over India, which are also coming up in this direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, for highlighting the research that is happening and the models that you suggest, which will be very helpful to the research scholars here. Now the floor is open. Floor also will have the time restrictions. Please do not give a speech, but just ask a specific question to the specific speaker. The mic may be given by the organizers to the persons who raise their hand. Yeah, Dr. Rachappa, start. And then Kameshwar next.
Preventing the irrelevant information in IPO prospectus, and Soral sir mentioned about the content analysis and so on. So we looked at, sir, in my previous research, content analysis of IPO document. Some IPO documents were 800 pages, 900 pages. Maybe now you have reduced it to 100 or 200 pages. That's a great achievement. But what we have noticed was the language which was used in that 100 pages was very difficult. Only a postgraduate can understand. And those companies which are using very complex language of English, like a poetry English, which I can't understand, and their future performance, we looked at the past next 6 years earnings and market performance, and we found that their performance is highly unpredictable. The companies whose language is difficult. So is there any mechanism where you are asking IPO companies to write their prospectus in plain language, or to improve the English language? Suppose we have come across one sentence with 20 lines.
Prescribed the font size for these KYC documents, which has a direct bearing on these clients dealing with the stockbrokers. As far as this prospectus is concerned, then the extent of information to be contained in the document. They have so far we have not prescribed any this thing, but this will be taken care of. This should be taken care of. There is a need now to do that.
language to the persons, because whether we can impose any motive behind the language they are using.
Sir, my question also is to the SEBI representative only. SEBI has prescribed audit on the stock brokers. What is the complaints they have done so far? Any percentage terms?